Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Tom Murphy Jr. I've got Dan Murphy and Joe Perry with me, and we are talking about the Detroit Lions, the victorious Detroit Lions. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win.
A win.
A win is a win is a win. The Lions won 13-10. Again, it was not pretty. Doesn't matter. Because in the win column, you can win 56-0, or you can win 13-10, like the Lions did. They won the home opener, and the home opener so important to Detroit Lions fans because that's the game where hope is still alive. You know, pretty much no matter what, the Lions, whether they won, lost, or tied in Week 1, it doesn't matter because hope is alive for the whole season, and it's the first real game at Ford Field this season. And the Chargers came in, and they're a good team, a playoff team last year. Now, they were beat up. They got their star running back is holding out, all that stuff. But they still have star players like Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen and Joey Bosa, who plays for that school down south that we don't like to talk about. They won the game. So, fellas, Joe, I'll start with you here. The Lions won 13-10 in their home opener against a team that's mostly predicted to go to the playoffs, but they were injury riddled. You know, they have a star running back that's holding out. And they didn't look great, but they did enough to win. So, Joe, were you happy with this win this week?
Well, you're always happy if you win, but it was ugly. It was, like you said, not a good win, but you beat a good team. So you got to be happy about beating a good team. No matter how it turns out, you do still see the holes or stuff that we didn't think were holes, like the defensive line, like they were non-existing. So, I mean, a win's a win. I still don't think we're going to the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, or anything like that. But you always are going to have those games where at the beginning of the year, you look like you're going to lose, and you're going to end up winning. You're going to, we're probably going to lose to a team now that we should probably win. So, a win is a win. Yeah. I'll put it at that.
And I second that point. And Dan, I want to bring you in here with the thought process that is a win just a win, or is the fact that the Lions didn't play great. And actually, the Chargers, it was almost to the point where who wanted to lose the game most, it seemed. With all these penalties and penalties at bad times and turnovers and just not making winning plays. But the Lions won the game. The Lions won their home opener. So all the 65,000 that were in attendance and the millions and millions watching at home, for Lions fans, they won the game. Is that all that matters?
Yeah, I think winning the game is all that matters, especially when you play a team like the Chargers, who we've talked about is one of the contenders in the AFC. I don't know if we have that same feeling now after watching them, but before the season, we thought they were definitely one of the contenders, one of the top teams in the AFC. And to get a win over them is huge, however which way you get it. And this game was kind of the opposite, I think, of how we felt about the first game, where the Lions looked dominant, they looked great, like everything you could want out of them for 3 quarters you got. And then they completely collapsed in crunch time, right? This was the opposite. They looked like garbage for almost the entire game, and then when it was in crunch time and guys needed to make plays, guys needed to step up, they made plays. Stafford and Galladay get the touchdown. They that last drive when they needed to end the game, they get that pass to Hawkinson to end the game. Where they didn't. I think was it Hawkinson or Jesse James?
It was Jesse James all day.
It was Jesse James. I know Hawkinson got one catch.
Hawkinson was pretty much. But
yeah, it was James that got that last catch. But that was to put the game away. They could run out the clock. They didn't make that play. against Arizona, right? So they made that play against almost did it, San Diego. LA.
It's easy to do.
It's so tough to do. Like, it's just it's been San Diego.
It's always San Diego,
man. But I think that's, like you guys said, it's a win. It was a win, and that's all that matters. And they're 1-0-1. I'm still at the point where I'm still waiting for them to show me. Like, you go into Philadelphia this next week, and you go and beat that team. All right, let's go. Like, I'm on board. Here we go. Like, I'm still skeptical. I haven't seen enough for me, and I'm sure there's a lot of skeptical Lions fans who went into the season like I did and are waiting. Like, you got to show me, who aren't convinced yet. And I don't think this team has convinced us yet.
And I do. I definitely. We are definitely gonna get into breaking down what is ahead of the Lions, which is Philadelphia at Philly, which it's not gonna be easy, but stay tuned for that. But for now, I still want to break down this game and some things that I saw, some points that I want to discuss, and one of them is the offensive line. Okay, our left tackle, our big time left tackle, did not play. Tyler Crosby did. So, one thing I read, somebody had a really good point that T.J. Hockenson did not have a big game on the stats, but the game was schemed where he was kind of blocking down and helping Crosby defend those two monsters on the San Diego, the L.A. Chargers.
Just call them the Chargers.
The Chargers defensive line, with Joey Bosa.
Well, we knew that's what that he could do, and that's why he was such a high pick, is that he can block and that he can go out for passes. So he's dual threat, I guess, if you look at it that way. So that's what kind of we expected. It's good to get him help, Crosby getting the start, and it's good to have him help him out as much as he can, because like you said, Jesse James was the one that was getting the ball. So it's good to have that. Be versatile like that to okay, now this guy's going to block this game, we're going to throw it to this guy, because they're expecting the complete opposite. And that's why they get their type of players, so they can do stuff like that.
Exactly. And a big thing for me about this game was Matt Stafford did not get sacked. So when you take Decker out with injury, and he's the most prominent person on the offensive line, and you fill in with Crosby, who, Dan, you had said in previous episodes that he's the guy that you wanted to see step up on the offensive line, because he is versatile as far as he can go on the left side or right side, and guys on the offensive line get hurt, and it's important to have depth on the offensive line. Well, when Decker goes down and he can't suit up in week 2, Crosby fills in. Is this a scheme thing, or do you think Crosby may have won himself a position on the offensive line?
He didn't win himself a position. Like you guys said, Hockenson had to help him out quite a bit. I mean, I'd have to go in and watch the film and watch play-by-play to see how Crosby did, but you kind of look at the line as a whole, they didn't run the ball very well. And if Hockenson was helping out a lot on pass protection, then it was a six-man pass protection, and the team as a whole only scored 13 points. So how great of a job did Crosby do, and how great of a job did the offensive line do as a whole if they didn't run the ball very well and they still only scored 13 points, in total? So that's kind of how I look at it, and I also look at it the fact that Crosby didn't take Decker's job. I think Decker must have been hurt the first game as well. And that's probably why he played so poorly, is because he was trying to play through an injury, and then he didn't play in this game. So, he might be pretty banged up, and the Lions might need Crosby going forward, but that's kind of why I went back to. Crosby's going to be a key. You mentioned it in a previous podcast. He was listed as the backup for both tackle positions. You kind of knew, he was going to get some playing time this year. So it's nice that he was in there and didn't give up anything horrendous. There wasn't any horrendous plays. You didn't see any big-time holding calls or any big-time mistakes from him. But at the same point, like you guys said, Hockenson had to help him out quite a bit.
When you break down this game and you think the good, the bad, the ugly, when you're talking about the offense, the running game, it was not strong. Third downs were tough. I mean, they did not make enough third down plays, third and shorts, third and longs, whatever. Stafford, he threw a couple deep interceptions. And if you break down this game, the Lions, they didn't look great. But again, they did enough to win the game. So with this offensive line, when you look at it, they, as a whole, did enough to win the game. The running game was not that great. They didn't make.
It was 3.4 yards a carry.
It's not good enough.
And it's 94 yards on 28 carries.
Especially when going into the season, it was all about, we're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Offensive coordinator Bevel, he's all about running the ball, like run first, pass second. And the running game was just, it wasn't there. Like even
Stafford had 30 passes though, so he did throw the ball a lot.
That's what I'm saying. The running game was not there, and that's what this offense is supposed to be built around is the thunder and lightning of Kerryon Johnson and C.J. Anderson. Well, breaking news.
Yeah.
You ready? Let's talk about this right now. Breaking news, man. C.J. Anderson gets cut. He's gone.
Yeah.
So this thunder and lightning package, it is gone now. There's no stocky running back going forward. And that means it's time for Ty Johnson, who I think needs more carries, and I think the Lions coaching staff also believes needs more carries. Right? Is this like cutting C.J. Anderson right now? Is that what this means? Is that it's Ty's time to shine?
I think partly that, because he did carry the ball a couple times and he did look good on it. He catches the ball well, but you do still need that power back. And they got Paul
Perkins, Perkins.
Paul Perkins from the Giants off of waivers. So it is a younger guy. It's his third year in the league, and he's 24 years old. So maybe they just went with youth. I'm not sure if he is more of a, like a thunder type back. If he is like a short yardage, I was trying to pull him up real quick to see if I could see his height and weight. But he had some solid games with New York. He's filled in a couple times with them. So I don't know. I like to see the moves because I think they feel like they're getting better and improving the team. And if you're always looking at trying to improve the team, then that's a good thing. So I feel like it's good. Is it that much going to make a big difference? Is it going to make us win an extra game this year? No. But it's looking at building the roster, getting better guys in, and just getting better talent into the team.
Yeah,
that's what I look at it.
Paul Perkins, 5'10", 208. So he's not a bruiser for sure. So
that's pretty big. 5'10", 208.
Yeah, if you're walking the streets of Clawson, Michigan, not if you're a running back. He's not a big bruiser.
I mean, he's solid. He's shorter, but he's solid.
He's not going to be a big bruiser.
He's solid. He's short and solid.
But drafted it the 5th round, 2016. He's played with the Giants. I know. I think I picked him up off a waiver wire like back in 2017 when the Giants had like 3 running backs.
He had a couple good games.
Yeah,
I remember at least one.
Nothing to throw a parade about though.
So, yeah, I don't think it's a case where like Paul Perkins is going to come in and get a bunch of carries. This is all about Ty Johnson showing that he's a pretty good running back.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good draft pick. And he showed some things. I think he had 5 carries for 30 yards in the game. Had a couple catches. So he showed that he can be a quality number 2 back to Kerryon Johnson. Has similar skills. He can, Kerryon Johnson can run the ball and catch the ball in the backfield, and so can Ty Johnson. So it's nice when you can take Kerryon Johnson out and you're just putting in another Johnson in there who can do the same thing. So I think it's just this situation where Ty Johnson really showed himself in preseason and showed himself in the first 2 games, and they feel confident with him, and he's just a better athlete and younger than C.J. Anderson.
Sure.
Age too.
They're saying Ty Johnson is the fastest player on the whole team, man, and that's huge in the NFL.
There's a lot more big play potential with Johnson than there is with C.J. Anderson.
Oh, for
obviously.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
And C.J., the thing that And it was like when the news broke today, I think a lot of Lions fans were shocked because a lot of fans still have in their heads what C.J. Anderson did last year when Gurley went down and Anderson like filled in and ran hard and now perhaps he was just a product of the system of the Rams
Offensive line, yeah.
and things worked out for him out there, but the Rams still didn't re-sign him. They still let him go.
Yeah.
Pretty easily because he was only signed to a 1-year contract. And what, like $1.5 million or something? Like I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was low. It was a low number for 1 year. So it was a trial run, and he didn't produce this year. I think he had something like less, like 3 yards a carry or something. It was just not.
He had 1.6, 5 carries for 8 yards this past game.
Yeah. So as shocking as it was to see while you're scrolling your phone, when you really look at it, it wasn't that shocking at all. And I think the Lions realized that, you know what, we don't need him. And I think you're going to see a big upswing for Ty Johnson right now. I think that's what this move means. Paul Perkins is just some depth. That's all that is.
Yeah, for sure.
So with this game against the Chargers, Dan, let's talk strictly about Stafford. Some of these stats you look at, he's right now after 2 games. I think he's like top 5 right now as far as yards, but the 2 pretty rough interceptions, but they were both on deep balls. The one in the end zone was nuts, man. Like Galladay started to play defense and he swatted the ball away, but it bounced off the guy's shoulder pad and right back into his hand. Like, you know, it was a pretty crazy interception. But he did throw 2 picks, but so did Phillip Rivers. You know, Stafford battled Rivers, and Stafford came out on top in a pretty important week 2 game because there's so many stats there where, if you start the season 0-2 or, where you start, like the first 2 games are really important. And Stafford found a way to make winning plays, and he moved around the pocket well.
Yep.
He really did. He escaped some trouble. He threw some great passes. He did have the 2 picks. Dan, where are you at with Matt Stafford right now compared to where you were at, where there was some, I don't want to call it confusion, but or misinformation, or just worry about his injury status, his off the field. Again, I'm not calling them issues. It's his family life outside, like all the stuff he went through off the field going into the season, and then to where he's at right now. Does he look like a guy that can lead a team to the playoffs right now, heading into week 3?
Well, after the first 2 weeks, I think Stafford definitely looks healthy. I think this offense is going to help him in terms of, if they're going to help him with this, like this week, they helped him with the tight end with Hawkinson staying in and protecting him. They gives them some more options, if they need to max protect like that. I still think it's going to come down to the running game. I mean, they got to be able to run the ball to make this consistent week in and week out. But if they can protect him the way they have so far, and he seems to be healthy, I mean, he can have a big year. He really could. I've seen enough through the first 2 games to say that, yeah, Stafford's healthy. Like, he's ready to go. And I don't think there's any question in terms of his motivation. Like, some people are saying, like, well, he's got the off-the-field stuff. Maybe he's not going to be as in tune and as, all in as maybe he should be. That's all crap. Like, he's all in. He's motivated. He's ready to go. He's locked in. And I think we've seen that he's the Stafford that we need to see. But it's the other factors of this team that I think are the problem.
Because there are 52 other guys on this roster, and it does keep moving and shaking right now, this roster. So, Joe, is this Pad Stafford, or did you see Matt Stafford elite top 10 quarterback?
I I feel like he's just probably out of the top 10, but like you said, he's moving out of the pocket good. He is playing. It seemed like they're letting him throw the ball downfield a lot more than they have the last couple of years. Also, that's why he did have those interceptions, because he seemed to be real tight the last 2-3 years with throwing those down the field passes. Maybe just because they're doing the play action and they're letting him throw it down the field, but it seems like they're letting him loose. So you're going to get more interceptions if you are doing that. But I don't know. He's still a really good quarterback. I feel like you're not going to get anybody better unless you have a good pick, or you can groom somebody for a couple of years or a year. So yeah. I'm still high on Stafford. I've always been a lot higher than most people, because my thing is, who else are you going to get? He's probably the best quarterback we've ever had, and definitely in our age, on the Lions. So why try to run a guy like that out of town?
Yeah.
I think in that situation, in terms of running him out of town, it's more about, how far along is this team, in terms of, I don't want to say a rebuilding part, but do they need to be in a rebuilding? Are they ever going to make a playoffs? Are they going to make a playoffs and make a run? Are they a championship level team? And if they're not, maybe it's a situation where you trade Stafford to try to get a bunch of picks. I think that's where some fans sit, where some fans think, well, if you trade Stafford now, you can get a bunch of picks and they can really establish this team going forward and rebuild, as opposed to trying to, run it out with Stafford and, maybe they never really get anything. They never win a division. They never make a run in the playoffs. So I think that's where a lot of fans are positioned, when they were talking about trading them. And I don't want to say run them out of town, but just go all in with a rebuild, which I'm not for. I don't know. I guess I just don't want to live through it. It could be the best. It could have been the best move, going before this season, that maybe they needed to rebuild and not go after a guy like Trey Flowers and keep Stafford and this and that. But I don't know. I personally, as a fan, wouldn't want to live through that and trade Stafford, and God knows when they're going to get another quarterback again that's even that caliber or better. So I don't know. I think it's the right direction to go with Stafford. I'm still fine with him, as the starting quarterback going forward. And I still think he can, if they have the pieces around him, they can make a run. If they have the pieces around him. Well, right now, I don't think they have enough pieces around him.
But they're building there. And then I think part of the reason why is all the new hot thing was, you got to get a young quarterback so you can build all around him. And I think that's also what got in a lot of people's head over the offseason. Let's just do that. It's not that easy to do. You need to build a really, really good team and then have a quarterback that you draft that comes right in and is successful. And that's a lot harder, I feel like, to do it that way than it is to have a top 10, top 15 quarterback, because they are one of the most important positions, if not the most important position on the field.
But the other thing, I mentioned Trey Flowers going out and signing him, and they signed Daniels, and everything is supposed to be this defensive line. And we talked about it last week. We didn't really see it come to fruition, really, especially in crunch time and in the fourth quarter and overtime, when you knew it was going to be passing downs and they just couldn't get pressure. And again, they only got one sack this game. Where is this vaunted defensive line that we were all told about was going to be dominant? And we haven't seen it yet. It's concerning.
I mean, we did only let up 10 points, which is good, but we did not have pressure on the quarterback like we all expected to see with putting all that money into that line.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, real quick before, because I do want to have a big discussion about how the defense played, but before we end the discussion on Stafford, I do want to bring in Jeff Driscoll, who the Lions just brought in. Does this revolving door of backup quarterbacks, does it mean anything?
It means they didn't go out and get a good one or draft one before the season. That's all this means. They didn't draft one. They haven't drafted one in the last few years that they could groom. And
they bring in a guy who filled in for a quarterback last year who got hurt in Josh Johnson, and they, he beat out Tom Savage, who got a concussion in preseason. So the Lions cut him. They do they bring in Josh Johnson, and they cut him, and now they bring in Driscoll. So that's just what it is. He's just another body, right? Like it really doesn't matter about this signing.
If we lose Stafford, we're screwed.
Doesn't matter.
We're screwed.
Now, I've thought about that because we've talked about it a little bit. Like, yeah, if Stafford gets hurt, if he gets an injury like Roethlisberger, he's out for the season. Like, the season's over.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if he gets an injury where he's out for like a quarter or he's out for 2 games, like, they need somebody that they could put in there to at least be able to run the offense somewhat efficiently. Like, right now, they don't have anybody, and they didn't get anybody before the season. Like, we knew this was going to be a problem going into the season.
Yeah.
And it's
when you're always like, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that backup?
I remember that name.
Yeah,
you gotta Google
familiar.
him. And, oh, yeah.
If you're doing that about any player,
we literally had to do that before the show. We're like, Driscoll is
like we know
that's
that
a name.
Like
I know.
The Saints,
it's like, we played at Florida.
Drew Brees gets hurt. He's going to be out probably 6 weeks. They're saying.
Yeah, but
they got Teddy Bridgewater.
Exactly.
He's got a ton of experience.
Now it didn't work out for the Saints last week. Bridgewater he didn't go light the world on fire.
No, I mean that was in the game against the Rams on the road.
But Teddy Bridgewater is a serviceable backup where the Saints still could be a solid team.
You might be able to keep them afloat.
Yeah.
Now, if the Lions lost Stafford for 6 weeks, you can't plug a quarterback in there that's on the roster and keep them afloat.
But you look around the league right now with Roethlisberger going down, and now they got to throw their backup in. Nick Foles goes down week 1. The Jaguars got to throw their backup in. And then the Saints with Bridgewater. Even watching the game on Sunday night with the Eagles, who the Lions play next, Carson Wentz went down, and they don't have Nick Foles as their backup no more. They had to throw another guy in, and now Wentz came back, but how hurt is he? And he's got rib issues, which could play into the Lions' favor next week. But when you look at the situation of backups around the league, some are all right, some aren't. And the Lions right now, with the way they're playing musical chairs with their backup quarterback situation, it's Stafford or nothing. Everything on this Lions season right now pertains to Stafford being healthy, and this offensive line being stout enough to protect him.
And the issue going forward with that is you don't want to have to keep Hawkinson in all game. Like, you want him to be able to go out and go on routes and be the dynamic receiver that he showed he can be in Game 1 against Arizona. Like, you don't want to have to keep. And Jesse James, same thing. Like, you want him to be able to go out and routes and catch. You want to be able to have 5 guys protect, not have to go max protection with your tight ends.
Hawkinson was not drafted to be a blocker. That wasn't like his
not a
big
pass
thing.
Not be helping out in pass protection.
not pass block.
I mean, he can run block, obviously.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why he got drafted.
Part of it. He's a dynamic receiver, and you saw it in Week 1 against Arizona. Man, when he's going up in those seams, he can catch anything, and he's got the speed to beat these linebackers. Man, a linebacker cannot cover him. Most of them, right? And how dynamic he was Week 1. That was absent Week 2, completely absent because he had to go help, but it worked.
That's a Patriot way.
It worked for
to some degree. It worked.
It worked for 13 points, man. That's what it worked for. It worked for 13 points, man. You won the game 13-10, and the Chargers did so many things. 2 touchdowns called back, 2 missed field goals.
They had a fumble on the goal line.
Yeah, like, this game could have gone so differently.
Yeah, but the Lions also had a missed field goal, a missed extra point.
Yeah.
So there's things there, too. Like, both teams struggled.
Yeah. Real quick, just a little caveat about bringing up the field. Did you guys see Melvin Gordon tweet about Prater? Did you guys see this?
No.
Oh, man. It was... All right, so Melvin Gordon, during the game, tweets out, and mind you, Melvin Gordon is holding out, so he's somewhere, wherever he's living right now, in some big house, probably, with all his millions, just sitting out, wanting more millions. He tweets out, hey, Lions kicker drinks on me after the game. But then later on in the game, once the Chargers kicker misses, he's like the backup kicker / the punter.
The punter, yeah.
He misses 2 crucial kicks. Quandre Diggs comes to Predators defense and is like, hey, Gordon, I'll buy drinks for your kicker. Nice doing business. like it was just a great shutdown of a pretty funny thing on social media that went on in that game. All things considered, the Lions won the game. Man, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. And if the Chargers weren't as hurt and they didn't make as many mistakes, they could have blown the Lions out. Going forward, all right, let's move forward. The Lions are going to Philly, one of the toughest places in the NFL to go to. And the Lions, they're healthy, right? You would call this team healthy right now?
Well, Decker's out. I don't know we'll see if Decker's going to be back or not.
Linebacker.
Davis.
That's another thing. Devy, he's been looking good, man.
He had that strip at the one.
He's the one that stripped the ball out. You know, and
he looked okay.
And this is where I want to talk about the defense, because it's going to take a really strong effort on this Lions defense, because I don't think there's going to be many points scored in this game next week. Philadelphia, this is a big game for them, you know, and they got a lot of guys injured, man. If you were watching that game Sunday night, Eagles-Falcons, the guys just kept dropping. The whole receiving corps was pretty much hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
Their top 2 for sure were injured.
And then Aguilar went out but came back in.
Their number 4.
Ended up making some big catches. Wentz was out for a short period of time, but he came back in. But he's got some ribs, man. And if anybody who's ever played any sport ever, if your ribs are messed up, if you're hurt in the ribs, that's got to be the toughest injury. Mm-hmm. I mean, your legs, you mess an ankle up, you mess a knee up, that's tough, man. But ribs, it hurts to breathe.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you feel it every time.
It's more a pain tolerance. I mean, if you hurt a knee or an ankle, I mean, structurally, it's hard to run the same way. But if you hurt your ribs, it's more of a pain tolerance than anything else.
Yeah. So, are the Lions gonna get lucky here? Like, are they gonna go into week 3 going into Philly, who's a Super Bowl contender, but they're banged up? Can the Lions squeak out a win here? And what do they need to do? And I think it's all on this defense. And so let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about this non-existent pass rush. First and foremost, if the Lions are going to win this game, they're going to need to get after the quarterback, which they have not done yet. Why? Why have the Lions not been able to get after the quarterback yet?
I don't know. I keep asking myself the same question. I don't know. I mean, we have the talent to get after the quarterback, but we just can't do it for some reason. I mean, we have, as a defense in a whole, played pretty well together, but
really aside from the fourth quarter, it's Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. Except for that fourth quarter when we let them come back week 1, but as a whole, they've played pretty well. I mean, shutting down. I mean, we kind of had this discussion earlier about. I felt like they shut down Allen.
I do. I want to talk about this. So, I felt like Slay got abused all game until the very end, where he came up with that big, basically game-sealing interception. But you felt differently.
Yeah, I feel like he played Allen really well. I know he had 8 catches for 98 yards, but he had 15 targets. Also, every time he made a catch, he was tackled right then and there. Allen is one of the top wide receivers in the league. I feel top 5. And then he came up with the big play at the end to get the interception to close out the game. So, I mean, he only caught like 56% of his balls thrown to him. he was targeted a lot and often, and he didn't get, I don't know what his yards after the catch were, but they were not, it was not much, because as soon as he caught the ball, he was down. And I heard a couple other people talk about, like, man, he tore him up, but I don't feel that way. Allen's one of those wide receivers who's going to get his. He's going to get those targets, and if you're throwing the ball that many times, you're gonna catch
15 targets to a wide receiver is a lot. You are correct about that. And it was one-on-one, basically, between Slay
exactly.
and
That's
Allen
another
the whole
thing.
game.
One-on-one the whole game. So, I mean, I felt like he played him really good.
I think it's a situation where both players played well. I mean, it was a big-time matchup. They talked about it before the game. It's Slay against Allen. And Allen got catches. He got 9 catches for 90-something yards, but he got targeted 15 times, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, whenever Allen got the catch, Slay was there to make the tackle. It would have been nice to see if Slay could have got in there and got a few more pass breakups, especially in those key third downs that Allen was able to get. But at the end of the day, Slay had the big play. He ended the game, or not ended the game,
Slay.
but pretty much ended LA's chances
Everybody take a shot.
with that interception at the end. So, like I said, I mean, there's 2 big-time players going up against each other. They both had, pretty good games. Allen kind of had the better of them for most of the game, but when push came to shove, Slay got the big play in the end zone to get that interception. So I can't say Slay had a bad game. I can't say he had a great game, but, you're going against a big-time player like that, a top 10 receiver. Like, he's going to get some yards. He's going to get some catches. But when the play needed to be made, Slay made the play.
Yeah, and on the other side of the field is somebody we really need to start talking about because we weren't sure who was going to be on the other side of Slay in that cornerback position, and that's Rashaan Melvin, who is stepping up and looks like he is going to be a guy who can really be a prominent player on this defense. Rashaan Melvin is really stepping up. Now, with that said, and I'm going to throw you guys for a loop here real quick. With the way Rashaan Melvin is playing, but in NFL news, you had Micah Fitzpatrick just get traded from the Dolphins to the Steelers for a first-round pick. And there's another guy out there, like, should the Lions have thought about that? But also, Jalen Ramsey is disgruntled out there in Jacksonville. Big blowout between him and their coach on the sidelines. He wants out of Jacksonville. Should the Lions be a team that should have looked at Fitzpatrick and should be looking at Ramsey? Or is Rashaan Melvin proving his point that, hey, I'm here and I'm good and the Lions don't need to be looking elsewhere?
I disagree with Melvin. I mean, I don't see him as a big time starting corner in this league. I think he struggled a little bit in the Arizona game. I thought Mike Williams had some big catches, some big play catches.
He had some drops too.
Yeah, he did. But I mean, I don't see him as playing as well as you think, Tom. And I think if you got a chance to go and get Ramsey, depending on what he had to give up. I mean, if you can give up like a first rounder or maybe like a third 2 years down the line, I would do it. Like, you put Ramsey with Slay, and if this defensive line does come to fruition like it was supposed to do, like we've been talking about, I mean, you got a dominant defense. I mean, a really legitimate dominant defense. And you got 2 top 10 shutdown corners. I mean, man, I would go out and do it.
Now, it's a similar argument to
Khalil Mack.
Well, no, I was going to say it's a similar argument to in the early season or preseason talking about trying to trade a lot to get Antonio Brown, who has proven himself to be just a complete nightmare, but he's looking really good. He looked really good last week with the Patriots, but all this off-field stuff is coming out. Jalen Ramsey, he's got a lot of off-field stuff. A lot of it is this prima donna, egos as big as the city of Detroit. Are the Lions, is that locker room, is the coaching staff equipped to handle an ego like that? just to win games, and could trading for a guy like that disrupt this locker room so much that it could be a disaster, and then you're giving up some of your future for it. Obviously, Antonio Brown, it's turning, like, the wheels are falling off with him off the field, but he still played a really good game last week, and so we'll see how that plays out. But trading for a guy like Jalen Ramsey, it could so wildly go either way.
I don't know if it can go. I mean, it'd be more of a concern in terms of what you're giving up. But if you don't have to give up too much more than a first round pick, I mean, to me, it depends on how much you got to give back.
You're looking at least a first. I saw reports today that teams are throwing their hats in the ring and giving out like a first round pick this year and a third round pick next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
That's not bad for an all pro, like, shut down corner.
You're not going to draft a Jalen Ramsey with the first pick, with the first round pick. You're not. If you do, good on you. But it's really difficult to get a guy like that. Yeah.
He's at the end of his contract, and he already said, like, no hometown discount next year. He's bringing up the Brinks truck. He wants to get paid next year. So.
Yeah, I don't want to give up too much for a guy that you're going to have to pay. I think if you go and you win a couple of these games coming up that you thought you were going to lose, I think then maybe you make that move because you think that you can make a playoff and maybe make a push. But I think right now, at this point, I don't think you make that move because, like you said, we're going to have to pay him a lot of money and we're going to have to give up assets. If you're going to want to pay him that money, just wait till next year until he comes up free agent, then give him all that money. So you're not wasting those picks. But if we do win a couple of these next games, 2 out of the next 3 or something, it might be worth it.
This is his last year, you sure?
I just typed his name in.
He is getting a new contract next year. This is the last year.
He's probably going to be one of those players. Yeah, because I remember he's the one that did bring the truck, right?
Yeah,
it got out of the Brinks truck.
He literally jumped out of a
Brinks truck.
Brinks truck.
Yeah, on the way to training camp.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's coming for the money, and he's one of those guys that, I mean, it's such a hard thing as a fan in the NFL right now. Is the balance between win games versus these egos and off the field stuff. Like, how much does it matter to you to just win football games? And these organizations have to look at that too, man, because these PR hits are nothing to be messed with, man. They really aren't.
It depends what it is, though. I mean, with Ramsey, if it's like really bad off the field stuff, that's one thing. If it's egotistical stuff, it's not the end of the world, because you want a guy to have some ego, especially playing the cornerback position.
And that's a big difference between like Jalen Ramsey and you want to talk about a Kareem Hunt or Antonio Brown. Now, like, or even Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had his stuff. Man, you're talking about abuse of a child, but the facts weren't there, so no charges were brought, and then he got a brand new contract, but then karma came crashing down on him, and he got hurt. But then a guy like Kareem Hunt, his stuff was on video, but he's still young enough and has enough talent to where the Browns signed him no problem. Even though he's sitting out.
But this is a situation with Jalen Ramsey. You're talking more about egotistical stuff. But the more the issue is, what are you getting? So you're getting a top 10 corner, but if you're only going to get him for 1 year for the rest of the season, you're probably not going to sign him because you're going to have to sign him for big time money. It's not worth it. If you know you can get him long term, if you know he can, if you can get him to sign a contract, or at least verbally sign a contract and say, hey, this trade is made, we got a long term contract.
And we want to give you a long term, big time.
To
contract.
Me, that would be worth it because you're getting a top 5 corner in the league. if not, I think he's well regarded as the top corner in the league. And Darius Slay's getting older. You know, they didn't extend his contract, which was
and that's
he
the
was trying
other
to hold.
thing. So, what, you still want to extend Slay?
Not necessarily,
though, right?
Not necessarily.
Why
You can have Ramsey,
younger,
and
get some
then let Slay go when his contract ends, and then Ramsey steps up as the number one corner. And until Slay's contract's up, now you got two stud corners.
Well, Slay's contract up. I think Slay's got 2 years left, right? Like next year and the year after. But
you don't extend it. You don't extend it. You get a guy like Ramsey.
He was holding out this. Now he showed up to preseason. You know,
I don't think you extend Slay.
Really?
I wouldn't extend Slay. Why would you? I mean,
he's going to be on a downslide, and he's going to
want
always
want to
money.
get younger. You
Yeah,
always
right
want to
in
get
his
younger.
prime, though. I think Slay is right in his prime
right now.
And if you put him,
2 years,
if you put him and Ramsey,
your prime is only so long, man. In the
real-
NFL.
well, you
Real
don't
quick.
look, man.
Real quick.
He already threatened to hold out this year. You don't think he's going to try to do it next year, and especially if he's got Ramsey next to him, who's getting big money. He's definitely going to try to hold out next year. You know, so I think, man, if you could, I would.
So if he's going to hold out next year, that's even more reason to go out and get Ramsey, because you're going to need somebody to step in.
See, that's a solid point, man. If there was a way to have both of them and lock them up for 3 years,
you don't.
It's a lot of money.
If you go out and get Ramsey, you don't extend Slay. Like it's a now thing where you got these two stud corners, and then you let Slay go, and then Ramsey's the number one guy. Like that's how this works. You can't, like, to me, you can't extend Slay, and you're just only going to get worse. Like, he's not going to get better.
Yeah.
He's not going to get better than what he is right now. He's only going to decline. So why extend him? Let him finish out the contract, and then you let him go.
Because you know he's going to want more than he used to get because of what he did in the past instead of what he's going to do in the future.
I hate, all of you guys hate when you say Patriot way, but that is the Patriot way. Yeah. You don't extend guys as they're getting older.
I don't
pay guys for what they've done. You pay guys for what you think they're going to do in the future.
I don't hate when you say the Patriot way. I hate when you say the Lions are not you specific, just people in general say the Lions are trying to do it the Patriot way, because clearly they're not. Because and the other thing is, the thing about the Patriot way is Belichick and Brady. Those are the two consistent variables. Well, there's three variables of the Patriot
New
way.
England.
There's Tom Brady, there's Bill Belichick, and there's what your point, Dan, is cutting guys when the downswing is recognized.
You always see that. You always see, they traded some Pro Bowl whoever.
That's rare. Yeah,
no, you see it all the time.
Like with the Patriots,
It's an older guy. They'll trade him for whatever.
I think that's overblown, man. Yeah, they did it. They did it with Randy Moss, and now they think the Patriot way is just getting all these guys on there because they brought it. Look, the Patriot way was to get Demaryius Thomas and play him a couple games in the preseason and then trade him for a 5th round, 7th round pick, whatever. Like, the Patriots do that. They bring in guys. Some of them work. A lot of them don't. Like, the Lions do know that Kyle Van Noy, our 2nd round draft pick, we did trade him for basically nothing, or even I don't even remember. And then he ended up starting on a Super Bowl team. But still, Kyle Van Noy was just he wasn't that great. They don't they did it with Randy Moss, but there isn't.
They did it with an offensive lineman not that long ago. They do it a lot, or they, like Dan says, they don't re-sign them.
That's the real thing.
They do both.
About
They'll trade them for you'll be like, wow, wait, they got a 6th round or whatever 5th round pick for him. He was a Pro Bowler, and they know that he's down. They don't want to pay that money anymore. And they're getting what they can.
And then the other thing about it is when they trade for that 6th round pick, that 6th round pick ends up panning out and being a serviceable player on the 53-man roster. Are the Lions doing that? No, not really. But
that's why we can't. That's why we can't extend them.
Just to bring it back to the main point, I would love to get Ramsey, but if you know it's only going to be for this season, then it's not worth it because you're going to have to give up assets, and they're not a championship team this year. Like a team that's going to do it is a team that thinks they're one player away.
Yeah.
From winning a championship. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think maybe the Lions probably should even pursue it. But would I love to see them get him? Would I love to see him get him and then set up a long-term contract for him? Absolutely.
And
but
that's
I just don't think it's in the cards.
Other thing, though, too, is with a guy like Ramsey, would he want to come play for the Lions? Now, he would have to accept the trade. I'm sure there's no trade clause in his contract because that's just not how the NFL works.
Maybe it'd be like Daniels. He talks to Patricia and falls in love. He's a defensive genius. Yeah. Had to go sign there. You never know. You're
right about that, but he's got some teams that he's targeted. Like I was reading today, I think he wants to play with the Raiders. Like I think he said in an article last year when the Jaguars were having a down year, and he was disgruntled because he didn't get his new contract. They were going to keep him on his last year of his rookie deal, and he was all mad. And he was saying teams that he would want to play with, and man, it was kind of obscure. It was the Raiders and. I forget the other team, but it wasn't the Lions. I'll tell you that. So you trade for a guy, and that's the thing, man. You make a big move for a guy that doesn't even want to be here, and then you got to question: is it his love for the game? Is he going to play for a big contract? And you balance all that out. If you're a team that's building, do you make that move? And honestly, Dan, I am with you because I think you could give up the future a bit, trade next year's first round, and then a third round. Throw in Agnew if you want him. I don't think he's going to be on this team much longer anyway.
But I think we're in consensus. Like if it's not a long-term thing with him, like with the Bears getting Mac, they were able to extend him. Like that's not. I think that's available for the Lions. And if you can't get an extension, then it's not even worth discussing. To be honest,
it is.
So I think we're in consensus that it's not a deal that the Lions are going to make, and it's not a deal that they should be looking to make.
No.
As nice as it would be to see Ramsey on the other side of Slade.
Like I said, you win a couple of 2 out of the next 3 games.
If he's still out there around the trade deadline,
if he's still there,
then you reevaluate.
Think about it. Think about how much that would free up this. Supposedly on paper, this defensive line that we have. Think about having 2 shutdown corners. How much would that free up the defensive line and those linebackers just blitz all day? Just you can go man on man on both your 1 and 2 receiver and just send the house. Think about the pressure. It's a move that could be made. And all right. So we're going to wrap up this Lions segment here because we did get off track because, man, just the idea of having Slay and Ramsey, it's intriguing. It really is. But let's talk about, real quick, going into Philly. The Lions are one of, I think, 10 teams or so that are undefeated.
Doesn't it frustrate you, though? Like last week it was... maybe the Lions just aren't very good. They're going to lose the next 5.
Yeah.
But now they beat the Chargers, and now you're just pissed off.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it! It should be 2-0.
They could be 2-0, and now they're going into this brutal stretch where it's Philly, Kansas City, who just is on fire, and then you get 2 hardcore divisional games. You got it Monday night at the Packers, and then I believe it's bye week, and then you got the Vikings. Okay, the Packers they look good, but they don't look great. And then the Vikings don't look that good at all.
Yeah, as we thought.
So
they look good. What do you mean they don't look good at all?
I didn't say
good at all.
They beat the hell out of the Falcons, and then they lost a close game with the Packers.
As good as we thought.
On the road.
I think the defense is as good as advertised. I just don't think Kirk Cousins is that great, and it's kind of like Chicago, man. If you could shut down the running game and make the quarterback beat you, I don't think Kirk Cousins is is great. So right now, though, all right, let's look at, before we go too far down the line, and because this
take
is
it 1 week at a time.
Take
Tom.
it 1 week at a time.
1 week at a
1
time.
week at a time. But we are in the approach of the murderer's row of this schedule, and it starts at Philly. But now, as we saw, this was the Philly had to go to Atlanta on Sunday night, and it was a really good football game, but Atlanta beat Philly. Philly, they struggled because they are banged up. And these guys kept getting hurt. Like, their wide receiver core got pretty much shut down. Their running game is not that great. You know, they got Jordan Howard, you know, and they still got Sproles. But
the difference is they have Wentz.
But they got Wentz, who's hurt.
Too.
Like, he is
so what are we
perpetually hurt. Like, and they don't have actually the backup actually led a pretty solid drive while Wentz was out, but Wentz came right back in, and he led some pretty solid drives. It was kind of a wacky ending and fun football game to watch. So it looked like two teams that were battling, Philly and Atlanta. Now, Philly at home, they're hard to deal with. The Lions got to go in there. Are they good enough? Are they good enough? Are the Lions good enough right now to go into Philly and win that game?
Well, after watching the first two games, I would say no. Defensively, like you said, they've done pretty well, but offensively, we haven't scored as many points as I think we should. Like you said, Philly's pretty banged up, especially, you know, the wide receiver core and possibly the quarterback. Defense isn't as good as we thought, because I thought their defense would be a lot better than they've been the first couple games. So, I mean, it's a winnable game, but I don't think we're going to win, just because I don't like Stafford on the road a lot of times, especially outside. Sometimes he really lacks. If there's any weather conditions at all, I feel like it affects him a lot. So that's one thing I don't like. And the other thing is Carson Wentz. I just think he's a top quarterback, and he's one of those people that can put the ball and make people better, make his wide receivers better, no matter who is in there. And you saw him almost come back and win that game with no wide receivers left.
Yeah.
So I do see this another low-scoring game though again, and I feel like it's going to be 20-17. Closer game than a lot of people think, but I do see the Lions losing.
This is kind of a tough game to predict with how Philly's looked, and because they've been kind of all over the place. I mean, they were down 17-0 to Washington to start the season, and then they got those big plays from Deshaun Jackson, who's now hurt, and, you know, the Phillies receiving core. I think, you know, what this is going to come down to is, can the Lions defensive line step up? Are we going to see the defensive line that we want to see, that they've paid all this money for, that was touted before the season? If that defensive line that we're expecting can show up, I think they got a chance. I think they can win. But we just haven't seen it yet. You know, and like I've said, you know, since we started this, like, they got to show me. And I haven't seen it yet from the Lions where I'm going to buy all in. And if they can come out and win this game, I think there's going to be a lot of believers all of a sudden. There's going to be a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, and I'll be one of them if they can go out and beat Philly. And imagine what it's going to be like if they beat Philly, and they're 2-0-1, and they go and play Kansas City. Like, it's a big game. Like, it's a big time game, and the atmosphere at Ford Field is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. And like, everybody that's been skeptical about them is all going to be on board, and we're going to be all behind the Lions.
And they're going to get smoked.
Well, we don't know. Who knows?
But
the thing is, like, everybody's going to be talking about going into the week, and there's going to be so much excitement. Like, gosh, I just want them to win this game. Like, we need it as a fan base, as a Detroit sports fan base. We need them to go out and win this game. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to make a prediction right here and now, you got to go with Philly. You got to. They're at home. They've been consistently good the last few years. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be low scoring, like you said, Joe. But I think Philly's going to make the plays when they need to, especially defensively. And I'm going to say Philly 20, Lions 17.
That's what I said.
It was the same score?
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Watching that game last week, I was just waiting to get kicked right in the nuts. I really thought it was going to happen. And when Phillip Rivers dropped back and he passed it, I was convinced that it was going to be a touchdown and all the air was going to get deflated out of the Ford Field and the Lions were going to be winless. But it didn't happen. And I was honestly shocked. I was shocked. And now going into this week, I'm still standing with this. I think this team is mediocre. I predicted 8-8 to start the season. Obviously, they're not going to go 8-8. So now I'm down to 7-8-1. And starting the season, I thought this was a big old capital L on their record. Going into Philly. But Philly's banged up, man, and they don't look like world beaters. And this Lions team, man, they just I want so bad. Like you said, like the fan base they need this win. What a great win it would be. But I don't see it. I don't see it either. Like Dan right now, I'm with you. I need to see it before I believe it right now. There's just not enough defensive pressure on the quarterback. The Lions are one big hit on Stafford away from the whole season being gone. The running game, like right now, it's a circus right now, really, because the offensive line is banged up. Carry-on, can he be an every down back and make it through an entire game without coming out hurt? Can Ty Johnson step up and be that electric back that the Lions need? I don't know. I want to see the Lions go in and win this game. I'm not convinced yet. I'm not convinced about this team. And in the first 2 weeks, I did not see enough winning plays. I did not see enough lockdown on third and shorts, third and mids, like, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Like I didn't see enough winning plays. I saw Arizona come back in winning time, and I saw San Diego shoot themselves in the foot a little bit more than the Lions shot themselves in the foot last week. So I don't think the Lions win this game. I don't. So I'm going to say the Lions lose. What did you guys say?
2017.
Yeah.
So I do it a little different.
Triple it up.
You just say 2017?
No, I was gonna say 2014, but
that's what I was gonna say.
I'm gonna do 2019, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
It can happen,
but somehow I think the Lions are gonna lose on some BS somehow, and it's not gonna be like a bad call or nothing. I think it's gonna be like
missed extra point.
I was gonna say exactly
missed extra point. They go for 2 and don't get it.
Yeah.
When Philly gets their go ahead touchdown, they go for 2 and don't get it. There you go. That's how you get 2019.
That's my 2019. I'm going to say the Lions lose in a heartbreaker. Like the Lions, it's going to be a kick in the nuts, 20-19, heartbreaker.
Well, if it's a heartbreaker, I think fans will. If it's a close loss like that and a heartbreaker, I think fans will come on the bandwagon a little bit.
Yeah, and then Pat Mahomes rolls in and goes,
and then goes
4
nuts.
touchdowns and 350 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, so that's where I'm at, though. I do it, but look, is the right side of the brain the analytical, and the left side is the more creative and spontaneous? Is that how it goes? The right side of my brain is saying 2019 kick in the nuts. The left side of my brain says Prater kicks a 62-yard field goal with 1 second left to win the game 20-19. Because that dude needs to redeem himself a little bit. So that's where I'm at. I don't know.
But all three of us are.
I think it's going to be close, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be a close,
game.
fun football game to watch. I am there with this Lions team right now. I think they're going to be competitive, but I'm more ready to get kicked in the nuts than I am to celebrate. But that's probably because I've been a Lions fan for 30 plus years and I'm used to this kind of thing. But we're also used to the Lions winning games they shouldn't win. So, all right, fellas. This is the Detroit Sports Sit Down. This is our Lions edition. Going into week 3. Let's go Lions. We'll talk about it next week. This is the Detroit Sports Sit Down. Peace.